Legend of Total War here, and today we've got some early access Immortal Empires battle footage where I'm able to play in here, so I've got access to this. But it's only custom battles. This isn't on campaign. We don't have access to the campaign yet. Development is in progress. But I think that this is here to showcase to you guys basically how the AI is kind of behaving and also how some of the abilities are behaving in this. So I've set up an extremely unfair situation because I imagine a lot of the other guys are going to be doing up fairly balanced armies, as in, you know, even fights going up against each other. And that's fine, but generally speaking, I don't like to just do what everyone else is doing. So I want to set up a situation that I don't think anyone else is going to do, but who knows, maybe they'll catch on to this as well. So I've set up a really unfair fight. This is extremely unfair. You know, Khorne has got loads and loads of forces, 1,725. He's got mostly melee infantry, but he does have some fast units. He's got Skull Crushers of Khorne over here, and there's another one over there. This is probably hidden. And he's got Chaos Warhounds of Khorne. Everything's maxed out experience. And all I've got is a Great Bray Shaman of the Wild with one spell, with also the Forbidden Rod. Now, the Unlimited Winds of Magic exploit has been patched. I just want to keep that in mind. Now, as I said before, this battle here is extremely unfair. Khorne doesn't stand a chance against me. So, to give you an idea of how balancing has been going on behind the scenes, I suppose, it doesn't seem great. There's a lot of things in Immortal Empires, from what I've seen so far, that is just like massive oversights. And I think that like, obviously it is development in progress, but I'm talking massive oversights, and this is really bringing home like a key issue here, what we're going to be doing. CA doesn't seem to catch this stuff internally, which is why it's really important that they do sort of like these closed or open betas or whatever, so that people can actually find this stuff and then let them know about it, and then they nerf it into oblivion, and then it becomes totally not fun to use at all. So anyway, let's just jump in here and we'll see how it goes. So, everything that I'm going to do is focused around the spell Devolve. If we have a look at the tooltip here, it doesn't seem anything too impressive. Damage per second, 2 to 5, which in Warhammer 2 it doesn't do any damage. So it kind of looks like they imported it from Warhammer 1 where it did do damage. And it does a debuff as well. Reduce speed, reduce leadership, reduce melee attack. Right, for 4 Winds of Magic, that seems pretty good. You can overcast it at 9 Winds of Magic, and it adds a, how much meter area effect? 35 meter area effect, right? Now, how much damage is 2.5 over, how many seconds is it? 20 seconds, really, okay? And this is why I tell people not to trust tooltips that CA put down, because they always leave out information. So let's firstly cast this on a unit of Skull Crushers of Khorne. So it's got 32 entities, it's got 8,000 health, and it has 15% spell resistance. I'm just going to single cast it. And we're going to see how much damage it does. So, for 4 Winds of Magic against a Skull Crusher unit, it has done, just waiting for it to finish. So, okay, so it's done 1,894 damage. Now that's a lot, right? Yeah, that is an extreme amount of damage for 4 Winds of Magic. But what happens if I cast it on a unit that has a few more entities in it? Of course, I gotta make sure I stay away from it. We don't want to go into melee with that at all. Now, the Skull Crushers of Khorne shouldn't be able to catch us, but the Warhounds definitely can. So I want to cast the next spell on the Warhound. And this is a unit that has no spell resistance, 80 entities, and it had 6,000 health. And with 4 Winds of Magic, we have essentially destroyed it completely. No entities killed, but that unit is broken, right? So what happened there? So what's going on? How did we do such a ridiculous amount of damage with one spell that costs 4 Winds of Magic? Like, that is beyond Spirit Leech, beyond Fate of Bijuna. What's going on here? Well, what's happening is Devolve is actually doing 2 to 5 damage to every single entity in a unit, which is why it didn't seem to do that much to Skull Crushers. It's only 2 to 5 damage times 32. But we did 2 to 5 damage times 80 against that. But against an infantry unit, when we overcast it, for 9 Winds of Magic, it just fucks! It just fucks! And they have spell resistance. As you can see, it's still quite easy to get the AI to blob up, especially if you've only got like 1 unit. Now, there's no more unlimited Winds of Magic. So you can see here that the AI is brilliant at handling this. They're constantly just trying to reform. Where they switch one flank over to the other side. This is Empire Total War script coming in right there. So what we want to do here, and as I said at the beginning of the battle, you know, it's very unfair to Khorne here. He doesn't stand a chance. As long as I get rid of that unit there, then they can't catch us. So, yeah, hang on. Might be better to overcast this because they're going into that nice, delicious blob there. Now, you can also see that it's doing next to nothing to single entities. Generally speaking, these kind of spells won't do any damage to single entities. Now, because it does damage to the whole unit, all of a sudden they all just die. Pretty cleanly. Entire units just get wiped out. So 4 units essentially got hit with it twice. Because yeah, it takes 2 casts to kill a unit. At least at Khorne. If you're going up against something like goblins, 1 spell cast will wipe it out completely. Because it has like 160 entities, but each entity has really low health. So 1 cast of it will wipe out a goblin unit, or a Skaven slave unit, or something like that. But this spell's going to be less useful against things with lower entities. Things like monstrous infantry, aspiring champions, that kind of stuff. Cavalry that's got 12 or 16 entities or something like that. It's also on ultra unit scale, obviously, but I imagine on smaller unit scales. Actually, this would be less powerful on smaller unit scales, now that I think about it. Okay, I was going to overcast it, but this guy's catching up, so we need to devolve to slow him down. So far, I haven't miscasted once. Okay, they got their warhounds catching up to us. Like I said, it's the only unit that can catch up to me. But right, 4 Winds of Magic, we just get rid of it. Still got plenty of winds in reserve. We can also do the Forbidden Rod, which will generate, I don't know, like 5 Winds of Magic. Instantly shattered for 4 Winds of Magic. Now they don't have anything that can actually catch us. But if I drop my guard a little bit, these guys here could pin me down. I still haven't taken any damage whatsoever. Just waiting for a good opportunity to present itself. There we go. Try and steer clear away from them. Because obviously our spell is much better against infantry. So wherever they are, just go the opposite direction. Because they're not trying to chase us here, at the moment at least. They're constantly just trying to reform. So we've had 50-50 miscast chance, but it just hasn't happened yet. Maybe we just got lucky, which is very unusual for me. You see this clean number of kills because it just keeps wiping out units completely. And of course, this ability here will be even more powerful in campaign because you can reduce the Winds of Magic cost. Like this is custom battle where everything is maximum cost. You know, I don't know how much you can reduce it by, but you know, if they're unchanged from Warhammer 2, then you've got, you know, you put multiple points into it, which is the first skill in their line as well, so you can immediately get it. It's the tier 1 ability. Reduces by 1 Winds of Magic, so it goes down to 3. You got a technology that reduces Winds of Magic cost. Don't know if that's going to be in Warhammer 3. And then you've got Malagord, which also reduces Winds of Magic cost even further. So you might be able to cast this at 1 Winds of Magic. 1 Winds of Magic, potentially. Unless they have patched that, which I don't know at this stage. I just can't test that right now. Oh, that would have been good. Come on, come on. Also hit the Skull Crushers there with that. And there's the army losses. Man, I kept overcasting it, and not once did we even miscast. I didn't take a single hit point of damage, not one. Like I said, this was an extremely unfair fight. And how much Winds of Magic do we have left over? Alright, I only had enough for one more cast. We had 68 Winds of Magic. And I've got Forbidden Rod here, which could have generated a little bit. So what's that? At 0.3 over a case of 20 seconds, you know, we'd get it. I don't know, 6 Winds of Magic, something like that, I'm not sure. There we go. So this is probably the most egregious example of unbalanced stuff in the game that I've seen so far. But I've definitely seen other stuff here that is ridiculous. Honestly, I don't think that Immortal Empires is anywhere near in a state where a tournament should be played. Like, any good tournament players, or any good players I should say, that can identify immediately which units and abilities are incredibly broken, they're going to dominate the tournament. This is possibly one of the most unbalanced builds I've ever seen of like Total War Warhammer. Like, this was obviously quite ridiculous, but there's other things as well, which I will mention in other videos later, because I've only had access to this build for a short time. It didn't take me very long to find this either, and I'm sure some of the other guys will find other broken shit as well. But in terms of like making more of these custom battle videos, I kind of just wanted to do this one to showcase that Immortal Empires is nowhere near ready in terms of battle balancing. Nowhere near. I obviously don't mind broken shit like this for campaign sort of things. I don't mind it, but I know that a lot of other people will absolutely hate this kind of crap. And like I said, there's more stuff. Like, this was the most egregious that I could find, but there is more stuff there that is definitely not correct, right? And of course, it is still development in progress, but I think I just don't really want to cover the game in its current state. It's still not ready, really. So I'm just going to keep focusing on Warhammer 2 Disaster Battles for the time being. I definitely will cover Immortal Empires campaign when the time comes. But, you know, this custom battle build does have me concerned. If the balance of the battles is this kind of borked, what's going to happen in campaign? That's my big question, which I don't have access to it right now, so I can't talk about that. But anyway, that's this video here. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Should Devolve stay exactly as it is, perfectly balanced, able to take out an entire Khorne army with just one unit? Or should it maybe get a little bit of a tweak? I don't mind either way, but I've showcased to you what is currently in this build, what Creative Assembly felt like it was okay to hand over to YouTubers after months and months of developing Immortal Empires. Don't forget as well that the Beastmen currently exist in Warhammer 2, right? This is a race that had its rework. And this is what we just got there. Which, by the way, Devolve doesn't do this in Warhammer 2. So somebody between Warhammer 2 and Warhammer 3 took Devolve and made some changes to it and didn't fucking test it. They just didn't test it, which is so very, very typical of CA, where they put in some stuff and they just don't test things. Or they do test it and they just don't care. I don't know. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. You let me know what you think. Appreciate you, and I'll see you next time, fuckers. Bye.